Uh-oh. Hey, John here again. So I got this Craftsman. A customer of mine said he was mowing the lawn and heard a pop, a little puff of smoke, and that was it. Don't start. So I didn't want to tell him it's probably not good news, but so I just got it over here at the shop, and this over to his house was seized, but I get it over here and now it's rotating, but there's no compression. It's just rotating from here. It stops right there to there. You can hit the start, it'll just go and stop. So my guess is a broken rod, but here's the thing. Because today's lawnmowers are so expensive, 2-3 grand nowadays. I see them at Home Depot. This guy's an old time guy. He's been retired for a bit. I'm going to see if I can replace his rod. I think it's a broken rod. I'm not sure. I haven't taken it apart yet, but if it's just a broken rod, we're going to see if we can replace this. Our rod should be around $100 or so he could probably get away with this for less than a couple $100, which is way less than a couple thousand. But I'm not sure what's going on yet, but that's where I'm at with it. Alright, so far we just undid the fuel pump here, undid it off the housing, right, and then there's just 2 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. You take the oil cap off and, or dipstick out, and this will pop right off of this snorkel. So that's where we're at. And now it looks like I can get to everything, at least take the head off and you know, see if the piston moves, see if I can get if the piston comes right out and I can see the rod, then obviously it's what it is. But we'll take the head off and just see what we're looking at here, and then make a decision on what we can do as far as if it's just replacing the rod. We'll have to take the engine out and hopefully get lucky with that, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so next move I made, just undid the spark plug and the 2 exhaust bolts, got them out, and put these bolts in before I lose them. And then we're going to take, next we're going to take the valve cover off. So this is a 10, just undo these. Alright, so after removing the rocker arms here, and what I do now, I just I got this loosely hanging, the carburetor, just the 2 bolts there, and it looks like we can get to all the bolts here. So I'm going to take this head off, see what we got here. So I think that's probably a 13. So far so good. Alright, let's see what we got here. Well, doesn't look too bad so far. Let's see if I can get something in there to see if I can pull that piston out. I was hoping maybe we can get a suction cup in there. Don't give up the ship. So I just put a little grease on the piston and used that suction cup and got it out, and it is a broken rod. The piston did get damaged here. The wrist pin is kind of crushed, so gonna need a new piston. You can see here it's just when I went bango, just kind of everything pressed up in there. And hopefully, there's probably some pieces in here, I'm sure. Yeah. Hopefully it's just the piston and rod. So at least I know what it is. Alright, so I got everything bolted back up, loosely bolted back up, except for the exhaust there. I'm just gonna leave that hang. So the customer wants this fixed, and you know, I told him that the parts alone going to be roughly $250, but I hadn't taken anything apart yet as far as the engine goes to see if there's any more damage. He gave me the go ahead, so we're going to do that. So the easiest way, that's the reason I bolted everything back up, is because I'm going to hoist this up a little bit. I'll probably get rid of the deck just to make things easier. And there's only 4 bolts. This is easy to remove these engines. It's only 4 bolts on the bottom there. Alright, so once the deck's off, it was pretty easy to take off. It's down there. But we're going to get it up on a chain hoist. And the plan is just to undo this pulley here, this double pulley, slide it down a little bit, get that belt off, and then while we're under here, get the 4 bolts off. Or loosen the 4 bolts for the engine. We still got to unconnect the gas and the throttle cable and some electric, but while we're under here getting this up, I don't know if this will work on this one, but let's try it. There we go. So once we got that off, now the problem is, let me see here, we might be able to get to that bolt one way or the other. There's a hidden bolt here. If not, I'll get a ratchet wrench behind there. Pressing the clutch in all the way, does that help? Yeah, we might be able to get up in there. This one's hidden. There's only one hidden. Alright, just to recap here. So we got the hose unconnected for the gas, and you don't have to worry about it. It's got a fuel pump. It doesn't have a shut off, so it won't, as long as you don't start it, it won't do nothing. The connector here, it's just a Z-bend. It goes in right there. Right? Unpuff that after you loosen that, or take that off. And that was it on this side. And then on this side we had just your connectors. You got the one connector there, and the one connector there. Set it loose, and your starter cable. And that should be it. I think I can still lift these engines. It's been a while. Don't grab the carburetor. Let's see if we can get under here somehow. So everything should be unhooked. Right. So before you take everything apart, just make sure you take pictures all the way around of where everything was. I just got things loosely installed here. Take pictures everywhere in case you get lost later. Alright, so I don't know if I'm going to show taking everything apart, but I've got a milk crate and I'm just going to start filling it up with parts. We've already taken this valve cover off and the head and all that business before, but you know, like I said, take a lot of pictures. I'm just going to go ahead and wherever I get the bolts out of, try to put them back in so we don't lose everything, and try to label everything as good as you can, because it might be a minute before you get this thing back together. Alright, so we got the head removed. Remember the 8 bolts or whatever it was, and we took the shroud off. It was just holding it on by right here and right here. Took the coil off, the carb came off, the coil came off. I'll just leave this breather hose in there for now because I got to clean things up. But so I'm going to leave this throttle body thing on for now. I'm going to get this flywheel off next, and because I can see in here, I got to get this crank out and see what kind of business we're doing here. And that's by taking this bottom half off. But I got to get the crank off. I mean the flywheel off first. So let's do that next. So after taking your fan off, you know, we're going to use, we're going to get the center bolt out first, but we're going to use a puller, and you're going to need some corresponding bolts here to use with your puller, which is over here. And I have some old head bolts that'll work, that should be long enough. So this I'm going to use right into here, but let's get this doohickey off first. Careful to stare, you don't bust your wires back there. Oh, magnets are still on. That's a good sign. Get the crank out of there. Keyway. Don't lose your keyway. It's still in there. And the keyway for this is, it's part of the double pulley. It's pressed in it. You can't lose that one. Alright, so we got here 13 maybe? I don't even know what that is. This probably ain't going to have enough, but yeah, I got to get an impact in there. Oh, one more. One more. Now that should be all of them. So this is going to make a mess. Still a little bit of oil in there, so we'll put it in a tray. Go home free now. There we go. Bunch of parts falling down. Your camshaft, your all kinds of broken parts. Your governor, all kinds of goodies. Wow, so interesting. So other than, I gotta clean this up, other than the crank being goofed up, counterweight, everything looks like it's going to be okay, I think. Let me go ahead and clean everything up here, see what I got. So these are your cap bolts to the rod. They got bent up pretty good. So all this stuff is remnants. Alright, I guess we're done here. So originally this, you know, looking through, taking the head off and looking through and seeing the piston and the rod was broke, there's no way to tell internally if anything else was damaged. So I told the fella, you know, it's going to be at least a rod and a piston, because the piston got compromised where the pin goes through, and rings. So you're looking at a couple $100 in parts, and at that point he agreed to it. But now that's all apart, I can see there's other parts that we're going to need, and one of them is, and these engines are notorious for the ACR, the automatic compression release that goes around here. They're notorious, these engines, for breaking them. It's usually just a spring, but in this case that whole horseshoe looking deal, the weight, that all broke. It broke into 2 or 3 pieces, and I don't know what caused this engine to blow. Maybe the ACR just broke and I got caught in a gear, you know, and stopped the engine and busted a rod that way, or maybe it just didn't have proper lubrication. I don't know what happened, but because this ACR is not here, you'd have to get another crank, and although they're not really expensive, like a huge deal, that plus your piston, your rings, you know, you're getting up around $300 now just in parts. That's if you can use your own, you know, old crank. If you got to get a new crank, forget about it. Just scrap the thing, because the cranks are just way too much money. Even used, they're probably going to get $100 or so, even for a used crank. And so then you're in the $400, $400+ for just parts alone. You know, when you include all the seals and the gaskets and, you know, whatever you have to do to replace. You know, get this thing back in order. And even the governor had a missing spoke here, or a crack spoke, and I don't know if that's going to play a role in balance. I wouldn't think so. It's just plastic, but it could. And it got compromised. There's a broken clip here, so this pin could literally come out of there. So, or a broken saddle for the pin. So you probably have to get another one of these too. And by the time it's all said and done, there's just too much money involved. Especially when you can get a used mower, because this is a 2006. You can get a 2006 or older mower for, you know, I've seen them for $200 that run and, you know, work. So for $300-400 you can get a decent mower, and you wouldn't have to you know, worry about putting this all back together. But if you chose to do it, the first and foremost, you got to get this cleaned up. If this doesn't get cleaned up, then you know, there's no sense of. You can't get this aluminum remnants off, there's no sense of continuing, because you know, that's just way too much money to buy, even used. So anyways, that's probably all I got for here. I don't even know if this is going to make a video. I just you know, taking it apart. If you know, mowing your lawn and you heard a poof or a bang and a puff of smoke, this might be your issue, and it could be, and I've done it before, it could be just the rod, the connector rod broke, and cleaning this bearing up here, you can get things back and together fairly cheap, within $100, maybe $200 max, just buying a rod if you can get away with just that and your piston was good and your rings, then you know, you could put this easily back together and this would continue to run. But this is too far gone. There's too much parts, too many things that you have to do to make it worthwhile as far as, in my opinion, worthwhile as far as parts go. If this was my machine, because the machine's in decent shape, let me show you. Because this machine is in decent shape, what I would do if this was mine, I would search for an engine, the same type of engine, Briggs & Stratton, I think it's an Intek, just so all the harness would bolt up, and you know, that'd be the easiest way to go. I don't know if, you know, they're ready available, and I certainly wouldn't buy a new engine, but you can also drop another engine in there, not Briggs & Stratton, I think a Kohler, the bolt holes, you could put a Kohler in there, you can, you know, just do a whole different engine, but then you have to get into the wiring thing a little different because the harnesses would be different, and like a Kohler uses, you know, that regulator, the rectifier, so you'd have to do a little bit different moves, but that could be done, just getting an engine, replacing the engine, you know, and that might be a way to go. Otherwise, this thing is totally scrap. It's, you know, 2006, so you're not going to get a lot for this anyways. $300 maybe. It's not worth putting the parts into. So anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and maybe I'll have something I can fix, yeah?